You ever wonder why certain people keep pushing your limits over and over again? Why they test your patience, ignore your boundaries, and somehow always manage to make you feel like you're the problem when they cross the line? It's not always because they're evil or out to get you. Sometimes it's because you taught them they could. Not with your words, but with what you tolerated, what you stayed silent about, what you kept excusing, even when it broke your spirit. The most dangerous behavior isn't always loud. It doesn't always come with fists or shouting. Sometimes it's subtle, it's dismissive, it's the quiet undermining, the backhanded compliment, the manipulation wrapped in concern. And the longer you let it slide, the more damage it does, not just to your peace, but to your identity. See, people don't always need permission to hurt you. Sometimes all they need is your silence. And once they realize there are no consequences, they make it a pattern, and patterns become your prison. You don't have to be cruel to stop tolerating what's killing you. You don't have to fight to protect your boundaries, but you do have to recognize that there are certain behaviors, certain violations that can't be fixed with time, apologies, or another second chance. Because they don't just steal your time, they steal your power, your voice, your clarity. This isn't about becoming cold, it's about becoming clear, about knowing that if someone constantly disrespects you, they're not confused, they're comfortable. And the moment you stop tolerating the intolerable is the moment you begin reclaiming your life. There are 6 unbreakable behaviors, 6 patterns of emotional, mental, and psychological harm that should never be normalized. Not by anyone, not for any reason, and definitely not under the illusion of love, loyalty, or keeping the peace. Because peace that costs you your soul, that's not peace, that's self-abandonment. Let's talk about the behaviors that are breaking you and how to end them before they end you. What you tolerate doesn't just affect you, it defines you. Every time you let someone cross a boundary without consequence, you're setting the tone for how the world is allowed to treat you. And that tone becomes your truth. People don't always listen to what you say, they respond to what you accept. And what you accept becomes your standard, whether you meant for it to or not. You may think you're being kind, you may think you're being patient, you may even believe you're being strong by not letting it get to you. But the truth is, every time you swallow that disrespect, every time you let the snide remark slide, every time you justify their behavior because you don't want to make things worse, you're reinforcing a message: this is okay. You're teaching them that your boundaries are flexible, that your worth is negotiable, that your peace is secondary to their comfort. The danger here isn't just in one isolated moment, it's in the pattern. Because the first time someone disrespects you and gets away with it, it becomes easier for them to do it again, and again, and again, until suddenly you're in a space where you no longer recognize yourself, you're walking on eggshells, you're silencing your own voice, you're shrinking to accommodate someone who was never willing to expand for you. It always starts small. A sarcastic comment brushed off as just joking. A missed call that turns into emotional unavailability. A promise broken that becomes not a big deal, and before you know it, the behavior you once said you'd never accept has become part of your everyday life. And the worst part, you're not just tolerating it, you're justifying it. You've convinced yourself that it's not that bad, or that it's not worth the fight, or that they didn't mean it. But here's the truth: if it's happening more than once, it's not an accident, it's a habit, and it's one you've allowed. Tolerating disrespect doesn't make you the bigger person, it makes you the person who's slowly being broken. Bit by bit, piece by piece, and eventually you start to believe that this is all you deserve, that asking for more is too much, that setting a boundary is being selfish, but that's not the truth. That's the effect of long-term tolerance of behavior that should have been stopped the first time it happened. When you let someone cross your line, you're telling them that your line doesn't matter. And if it doesn't matter to you, why would it matter to them? You can't teach someone how to love or respect you if you don't show them where the line is and what happens when it's crossed. Now, this doesn't mean you need to respond with anger or aggression. Strength isn't in volume, it's in clarity. You can say no with grace, you can walk away with dignity, you can demand better without raising your voice. The power isn't in being cruel, it's in being clear. I don't tolerate this behavior. I don't accept disrespect. I don't give my energy to people who drain me. That kind of clarity repels what's not aligned and protects what is. You might worry that standing up for yourself will push people away. Good. If your boundaries push someone away, they were never really for you. Anyone who's truly meant to stay in your life won't be afraid of your standards. They'll respect them. They'll rise to meet them. And if they don't, let them go. Because keeping someone in your life who constantly makes you compromise your self-worth is far lonelier than walking away. People will always test your limits, not because they're bad, but because human nature is wired for patterns. We learn how far we can go by watching how others respond. If someone disrespects you and sees no consequence, they won't magically become better next time. Why would they? The behavior worked, it got them what they wanted, and the cycle continues until you decide it ends. The truth is, no one's coming to rescue you from the situation you keep tolerating. The only person who can shift it is you, and that doesn't require a massive confrontation. It starts with a decision that your peace matters more than their opinion, that your time, your energy, your self-worth, they're not negotiable, not anymore. What you tolerate teaches people how to treat you. So if you're not being treated with respect, with love, with honesty, it's time to ask yourself what behavior you've been allowing in silence. It's time to stop managing everyone else's comfort and start protecting your own peace. You deserve a life where you're respected, not questioned, where you're honored, not doubted, where you're safe to be yourself, not shrinking to fit someone else's idea of who you should be. That life starts the moment you stop tolerating what's been slowly breaking you. Set the standard, keep it high, and never apologize for requiring what should have been given to you in the first place. Basic human decency. One of the most dangerous traps we fall into is believing that an apology means something is fixed. That just because someone says, "I'm sorry," everything should go back to normal. We're told to forgive, to let it go, to believe the best in people, and there's nothing wrong with compassion. But compassion without boundaries is how you end up stuck in cycles that destroy you slowly, quietly, and completely. Because here's the truth. The real red flag is not the apology, it's the repetition. Anyone can say sorry. It doesn't take self-awareness to apologize. It doesn't take real change. It just takes words. And words are cheap when they're not backed by action. A true apology isn't what someone says to you in a moment of guilt. It's what they choose to do differently the next time they have the chance. And if they keep choosing the same behavior, if they keep crossing the same line, if they keep hurting you in the same way, then what you're hearing isn't an apology. It's manipulation dressed up as remorse. Repetition reveals the truth. If someone hurts you once and owns it, takes responsibility, and genuinely works to change, that's growth. That's someone worthy of grace. But if someone keeps making the same mistake, keeps disrespecting your boundary, keeps apologizing just to get back in your good graces, then you're not in a relationship, a friendship, or even a healthy connection. You're in a pattern, a cycle, one that keeps spinning because you keep hoping this time will be different, even though it never is. There's something incredibly deceptive about the kind of person who knows how to apologize. Well, they know just the right words. They know how to look ashamed, how to sound sincere. They've mastered the art of saying everything you need to hear to doubt your own anger, to make you feel guilty for holding them accountable, to shift the blame back onto you for being too sensitive or not forgiving enough. That's not an apology. That's emotional manipulation. And if you found yourself caught in this loop of being hurt, receiving an apology, forgiving, and then being hurt again, you're not weak, you're human. You want to believe people can change. You want to believe the best in someone you care about. But you need to understand that intentions don't mean anything without follow-through. A good heart doesn't excuse harmful behavior. And love, no matter how deep, doesn't require you to destroy your peace for someone else's convenience. Repetition is how people reveal what they value more, their comfort or your well-being. When someone truly respects you, they make it their business not to hurt you again. They don't just say sorry, they change. They become conscious of their patterns. They seek to do better. And if they're not doing that, it's not because they don't know how, it's because they don't care enough to try. What you allow to continue is what you communicate as acceptable. So if you keep accepting apologies without demanding change, if you keep forgiving without seeing transformation, you're not just giving them another chance, you're giving them permission. You're teaching them that the cost of hurting you is low, that all they need to do is say a few words and you'll reset the cycle. This is how self-worth gets chipped away over time. You start to believe that being repeatedly hurt is normal, that maybe your standards are too high, that maybe expecting consistency is asking too much, but you are not asking for too much, you're just asking the wrong person. Because the right people don't need to be told twice how to treat you. They don't need to keep being forgiven for the same thing. They learn, they grow, they adjust, and they make damn sure they don't put you in the position to be hurt again. Forgiveness is not the same as reconciliation. You can forgive someone and still walk away. You can let go of the anger and still refuse to tolerate the pattern. You don't owe anyone access to your life just because they said sorry. Access is earned through consistent behavior, through proof, through actions that align with words. And don't let anyone guilt you into staying in cycles that are damaging you just because they apologize. Sorry doesn't erase the damage. It doesn't undo the pain. It doesn't rebuild trust. That work takes time, effort, and a real commitment to being better, not just sounding better. At some point, you have to stop listening to what people say and start watching what they do. Watch the pattern. Watch how they behave when no one's watching. Watch how they act when you stop making excuses for them. The truth always shows up in the repetition. You deserve to be around people who don't just apologize when they hurt you. You deserve people who actively work not to. People who value you enough to check themselves. People who don't wait until you're angry to reflect. People who honor your boundaries the first time, not after being reminded a dozen times. Repetition is the red flag, not the apology. Don't be fooled by polished words. Don't get caught in the illusion that things will change if you just hang on a little longer. When someone shows you through their actions that your pain means less than their habits, believe them. Believe the pattern. Believe the message. Their behavior is screaming, even if their words are whispering comfort. And most of all, believe that you are worthy of respect the first time. Not after the 5th apology, not after the 10th mistake, but now. Always, consistently, without exception. Your standards aren't just preferences. They're not negotiable suggestions or a wish list of how you hope people will treat you. They're your safety net, your emotional, mental, and spiritual protection from everything and everyone that could slowly dismantle your self-worth if you're not careful. When you don't have standards or when you let them bend just to avoid conflict, you end up exposed, vulnerable to people who don't have your best interests at heart. Standards are boundaries with a backbone. They're the internal compass that says, this is what I will accept, this is what I won't, and this is where I walk away. They aren't about controlling others, they're about protecting yourself. They help you discern who belongs in your life and who's just passing through to see how much they can take. Because make no mistake, people will test you, not because they're always malicious, but because human nature pushes against limits. And if they find out you have none, they won't stop at one disrespect, they'll keep pushing until you lose yourself. Your standards teach people how to treat you, and the way you reinforce them tells others how serious you are about your own well-being. If someone sees you make exceptions every time you're afraid of losing them, they learn that your standards are flexible. They learn that your no can be negotiated. They learn that your peace can be sacrificed if the right buttons are pushed. That's not strength. That's self-abandonment. You've probably been there before. The relationship where you kept lowering the bar just to keep the peace. The job where you stayed silent while being undervalued. The friendship where you tolerated constant disappointment just because you didn't want to be alone. But what did it cost you? Your confidence? Your clarity, your inner voice? Standards are meant to preserve those things. When you have them and honor them, you don't just protect your energy, you protect your identity. People often confuse high standards with being difficult or demanding, but it's not about arrogance, it's about alignment. Your standards filter out what isn't meant for you. They save you from investing in the wrong people, wasting time in the wrong places, or pouring energy into things that don't return it. They keep you focused on what truly matters and prevent you from settling for anything less. And yes, standards will push some people away. That's the point. They're supposed to. Your safety net isn't designed to catch everyone. It's meant to keep you from falling into patterns that slowly destroy your sense of self. If someone walks away because they couldn't meet your standards, let them. That was your protection, not your loss. Every time someone leaves your life because you chose to honor your worth, you're getting closer to the people and situations that will respect it without being asked. But let's be clear, having standards means holding them, not just when it's convenient, not just when things are going well, but especially when it's hard, when someone you care about crosses a line, when your job asks too much for too little, when someone says don't be so sensitive after disrespecting you. That's when your standards matter most. That's when they become the lifeline you didn't know you needed. Standards don't mean you never compromise, but they do mean you never shrink. You can be flexible without abandoning your non-negotiables. You can be compassionate without being a doormat. You can love someone deeply and still recognize that love without respect is just manipulation with a pretty face. Think of your standards like armor, not to block the world out, but to walk through it with clarity and confidence, to filter what's real from what's performative, to avoid getting caught in the trap of trying to heal someone who's committed to staying broken, to stop mistaking potential for consistency. When your standards are clear, you stop chasing validation. You stop begging for bare minimum effort. You stop hoping someone will see your value, and instead you start choosing people who already do. You stop accepting crumbs and start requiring full tables. Because you know what you bring. You know what you offer, and you know what you deserve. And here's something most people don't talk about. Your standards also hold you accountable. They challenge you to show up with integrity, to practice what you preach, to embody the very behavior you expect from others. Because you can't ask for honesty if you're not honest with yourself. You can't expect respect if you're constantly breaking your own boundaries. Your safety net isn't just for protection, it's for elevation. The more you honor your standards, the less chaos you invite, the less drama you tolerate, the fewer fake apologies you accept. You stop getting caught in toxic loops because you're no longer available for them. You've raised the bar, and with it, you've changed the game. So if you've been waiting for permission to raise your standards, this is it. If you've been afraid of losing people because of your boundaries, good. Let them fall away. Your peace is too valuable to be traded for proximity. Your energy is too precious to be drained by inconsistency. Your time is too short to waste on people who don't respect your line in the sand. Your standards are your safety net, and when you enforce them, you stop falling for what looks good and start rising for what is good for you, your life, and your future. Hold that line, not out of pride, but out of purpose. You don't have to apologize for demanding what should be basic. You don't have to feel guilty for protecting your peace. You're not too much, you're not too hard to love, you're just done accepting less, and that's the beginning of everything. We live in a world where silence is often mistaken for strength, where staying quiet, enduring quietly, and keeping the peace at all costs are praised as mature, composed, and noble responses. But silence, when it comes at the expense of your truth, your boundaries, and your self-respect, isn't strength, it's surrender. And excuses, they may feel like they're protecting you in the short term, but they're actually keeping you stuck in places you were never meant to stay. Silence and excuses are not strength. They are self-betrayal in disguise. There's a kind of silence that's powerful when you're choosing not to engage with chaos, when you're walking away from drama, when you're standing in stillness, because your peace speaks louder than noise. That silence is intentional. It's rooted in self-control. But the silence that comes from fear, the silence that stems from not wanting to rock the boat or make someone uncomfortable or lose someone you care about, that silence is dangerous. That silence teaches people they can violate your boundaries without consequence, that they can hurt you, cross lines, disrespect your worth, and you'll still stay quiet, Every time you silence yourself to protect someone else's comfort, you're sending a message, your peace is more important than my pain. You teach people how to treat you, not just by what you say, but by what you don't. Silence becomes the breeding ground for toxic behavior. It becomes the perfect environment for manipulation, emotional neglect, and repeated patterns of harm to thrive. Because if they know you won't speak up, why would they ever stop? Excuses work the same way. We tell ourselves stories to cope. They didn't mean it, they're going through a lot, it was just a bad day, and maybe all of that is true, but here's the thing, context explains behavior, it doesn't excuse it. You can understand someone's pain and still not let them weaponize it against you. You can empathize with someone's struggle and still decide that it's not an excuse to treat you poorly. Excuses feel like protection, but they're just delays. They delay hard conversations, they delay accountability, they delay the moment you finally choose yourself over someone else's dysfunction. And with every excuse you make for someone else, you chip away at your own sense of reality. You start to second-guess your instincts. You wonder if you're being too much or too sensitive. You stop trusting your own voice, and once that's gone, it becomes incredibly hard to find your way back. You don't owe anyone your silence when they've hurt you. You don't owe them a pass just because you love them. Love without truth isn't love, it's performance. And you can't build anything healthy, sustainable, or real on a foundation of unspoken resentment and avoided truth. Speaking up isn't about being confrontational, it's about being clear. It's about saying, this is not okay, this hurt me, this cannot continue. And if someone truly values you, they will not be offended by your clarity, they will be honored by it. Strength is not about how much you can endure silently. It's about how honest you can be with yourself and how willing you are to draw the line, even when your heart is involved. True strength is being able to look someone in the eye and say, I love you, but I will not lose myself to keep you. We often stay silent because we fear loss. The loss of a relationship, a job, a friendship, an opportunity. But staying silent to avoid loss only guarantees a bigger loss, the loss of self. Because when you swallow your truth over and over again, eventually you forget what it even sounded like. You forget who you are underneath the layers of tolerance and polite suffering. And here's the hard truth. If your honesty causes someone to walk away, they were never invested in you the way you deserved. You didn't lose something valuable, you revealed it. You exposed what was conditional, what was weak, what couldn't hold up under the weight of realness. And while that might sting, it's a necessary pain. It clears the path for something stronger, more aligned, more honest. There is no growth in silence. There is no healing in excuses. Growth demands confrontation. Healing requires truth. And peace, real peace, only comes when there is nothing left unsaid and nothing left to excuse. So if you've been biting your tongue, walking on eggshells, rationalizing what you know in your gut is wrong, this is your wake-up call. Your voice is not a weapon, it's a tool. Use it. Your truth is not a threat, it's a boundary. Protect it. And your standards, they are not too much, they are the bare minimum. Honor them. You are not here to keep the peace by sacrificing your soul. You are not here to shrink, to bend, to excuse away behavior that breaks your heart. You are here to stand tall, to speak up, to be firm, to be unshakable in your values. Silence may feel easier, excuses may feel safer, but neither will get you to the life you are meant to live. Strength is in truth, it's in the uncomfortable conversation, it's in the moment you stop tolerating what's intolerable and start choosing what's aligned. Say it, all of it, loudly, clearly, without apology. Because silence and excuses were never strength. You are. There's this lie we're sold, especially if you're empathetic, especially if you care deeply, that putting yourself first is selfish, that saying no means you're cold, that distancing yourself from dysfunction means you lack compassion. But the truth? Protecting your peace isn't selfish. It's survival. It's the very thing that allows you to keep showing up clear, calm, and in control of your own life. Peace isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. It's not something you get when everything's perfect. It's something you have to fight for when everything is trying to pull you back into chaos. When the noise of other people's opinions, expectations, projections, and drama tries to drown you out, your peace is your anchor. Without it, you're just reacting to life. Drifting, getting pulled into battles that were never yours, sacrificing your clarity for temporary approval. Let's be honest, everyone loves the version of you that says yes. The version that shows up, gives endlessly, listens endlessly, tolerates endlessly. But the second you say no more, the second you draw the line and choose your peace over their comfort, suddenly you're the problem. Suddenly you're distant, cold, arrogant, ungrateful. Not because you changed, but because you stopped being available for the dysfunction they got comfortable benefiting from. That's the thing about peace. The people who truly value you will protect it with you. The ones who only value what they can take from you, they'll fight your peace every time. Because your boundaries threaten their convenience. Your healing threatens their control. Your silence, your stillness, your refusal to engage, that's power they can't manipulate. You don't need to explain why you're protecting your peace. You don't owe anyone a dissertation on why you're not answering that call, replying to that text, or accepting that invitation. Protecting your peace doesn't require permission. It requires decision. A decision to stop betraying yourself for the sake of being liked, included, or understood. Some people won't understand your healing. They won't understand why you suddenly stop showing up to arguments, why you stop explaining yourself, why you start pulling back from conversations that drain you. Let them be confused. Let them sit with their discomfort. Because the people who respect you, truly respect you, will never ask you to abandon your peace to prove your loyalty. You have one nervous system, one mental bandwidth, one body that holds your emotions, your stress, your experiences. When you constantly allow toxic people or situations into that space, you don't just lose time, you lose parts of yourself, you lose focus, you lose energy, you lose the ability to hear your own thoughts. Because the noise of someone else's chaos is always louder. Protecting your peace is about being intentional. It's about saying, I don't argue anymore. I don't chase anymore. I don't explain what I've already made clear. I don't give energy to what robs me of clarity. I don't entertain what costs me my center. And if someone thinks that's selfish, they were never for your growth to begin with. They were for your sacrifice. We get one life, one mind, one heart, and yet we give it away so easily to people who don't value it, to environments that drain it, to patterns that sabotage it. Protecting your peace is how you break that cycle. It's how you say, no more rescuing people who aren't even trying to save themselves. No more tolerating energy that leaves you feeling small, heavy, or unsure. No more apologizing for taking up space. When you protect your peace, you become selective. Not bitter, not guarded, selective. You start choosing your company, your conversations, and your commitments more carefully. You stop feeling guilty for resting. You stop feeling bad for saying no. You stop being accessible to people who only come around when it benefits them. And something shifts, slowly at first, but it builds. You start waking up lighter. You start trusting your intuition again. You start hearing your own voice, clearer than it's ever been, because you're no longer drowning in everyone else's noise. You're no longer living in reaction. You're responding with wisdom, groundedness, discernment. That's what peace gives you. That's why it matters. This world will keep demanding more of you. More time, more energy, more tolerance, more flexibility. But your job is to protect your inner space, like it's sacred, because it is. You can't pour from an empty cup. You can't lead, love, or grow in an environment where you're constantly being pulled into emotional warfare. Protecting your peace doesn't mean you're perfect. It means you're present. It means you know what's for you and what isn't. And you no longer have to justify choosing yourself, because choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's the most responsible thing you can do. It means you're no longer willing to pay the price of your mental health for temporary connection. It means you'd rather be misunderstood for a moment than mistreated forever. So when the noise rises, when the pressure builds, when the guilt creeps in, remind yourself you're not here to please everyone. You're here to protect your alignment. Because in a world that's constantly trying to distract, divide, and drain you, your peace is your rebellion. Your peace is your power. And protecting it, that's not selfish. That's survival. That's strength. If you don't stand for yourself, no one else will. That's the truth most people don't want to face. Every time you tolerate what breaks you, every time you excuse what disrespects you, every time you stay silent to keep the peace, you're not just letting someone else win, you're letting yourself disappear. And the most dangerous thing you can ever do is forget who you are to keep someone else comfortable. These behaviors we've uncovered, they're not just red flags, they're warning signs. Signs that your soul is shrinking, that your identity is under attack, that your boundaries are being bulldozed, not accidentally, but consistently. You don't need to wait for more evidence. You don't need to wait for things to get worse. You don't need to wait for someone to finally see your worth. If they haven't by now, they never will. And it's not your job to convince them. Your job is to protect yourself with clarity, with strength, with unshakable truth. Because people will only push as far as you let them. And every moment you allow what should be non-negotiable, you send a message, this is okay, but it's not. And it never was. You were not born to be passive. You were not made to live quietly beneath someone else's comfort. You were built with intuition, with fire, with vision. And if you feel something is wrong, it is. Trust that, honor that, and act on it. Draw the line. Keep it sharp. Keep it sacred. Because when you refuse to tolerate the intolerable, you don't just change your life, you change your energy. Your decisions become cleaner, your relationships become healthier, and your world begins to reflect the truth of who you are, not the lie of what you've endured. You are not too much. You are not hard to love. You are not difficult. You are clear. You are aware, and now you are done. Let them call it cold. Let them call it harsh. Let them call it whatever they want, because peace is not found in pleasing. It's found in protecting. And from this moment on, you protect you.